Well, voters have a lot to unpack from those 90 minutes. And joining us this morning to sort of help us break it all down is David McCuan, a political science professor at Sonoma State University. Good morning.
Good morning. Pleasure to join you.
All right, so David, let's just get to the big question of the day. Who do you think won the election, or not the election, the debate from last night when you look at all the metrics and who had the best performance?
Taylor Swift and her cats, man. I mean, easy.
All right, so we should probably back that up. After the debate, Taylor Swift finally came out for who she wants to vote for and why, and that's Kamala Harris.
Yeah, I mean, look, Kamala Harris had a slow start, a slow first 10 minutes. Then she pivots, starts talking about abortion. She's really warming up. And then she, in an issue that the administration is vulnerable on immigration, she starts talking about his rallies. Donald Trump, rather than go in about immigration, stops and pivots to talk about his rallies and who's not leaving and how they're not boring, right away getting under, the vice president is getting under the skin of the former president. That then continues. And the former president loses his mojo until the last 2 minutes when he pivots back and says to Kamala Harris, look, what have you done the last 3.5 years to deal with these problems? It's only at the beginning and at the very end. And you're losing eyeballs at the end on such a debate where Donald Trump is strong. In between all of that and what he should have done, say, after the first 10 minutes and then until the last 2 minutes, Kamala Harris is really moving strongly into that prosecutorial mindset. Then after the debate, obviously the Taylor Swift endorsement, that is going to give her a little bit of a bump. We see that in about 48 hours or so. In the scheme of things, it makes a little difference, particularly in swing states, even though this is probably the first and likely only presidential debate that we see this season.
You know, David, something a lot of people are talking about also this morning, in addition to Taylor Swift's endorsement, is, there were a lot of things being said, a lot of claims that were made, some true, some not so much. Both Trump and Harris making claims about abortion, Project 2025, the economy. As a voter, fact checking seems to be one of the most important things that needs to happen, especially after seeing what happened last night. What do to sort of get that information correctly and just sort of give it more context of what we should learn about what was really said?
Yeah, thanks for that question. Look, there are ways to check what's going on. PolitiFact and others do some post-debate and on the ground at the same time, if you will, concurrent fact checking. That's important for voters. Voters have other resources available through third parties, those of us that are paying attention to the debate and what's going on. But most voters are going to get an impression of this debate from the coverage and from the idea of who, quote unquote, won and who lost. The former president didn't look solid last night. I mean, we were talking about pets being eaten in Ohio. That's a viral moment. That's a moment that's not conducive to going after those swing voters. And those swing voters then want to challenge things that he says, even if he provides valid conversation or points after that. Kamala Harris could kind of sit back and let him do his thing. And that's a debate prep tool that she's used in the past when she was running for U.S. Senate and for AG. In that sense, voters going to places like PolitiFact can be helpful, but also really the coverage after the fact is what most voters will pay attention to, especially in this intervening kind of 48-hour period.
I also watched language and body language, how he pointed at her, said her, talked about President Biden as her boss, said President Biden hates her. So that was fascinating to watch, much to unpack where the presidential debates are. But while we have you, David, let's pivot it to another very important debate, and that's the San Francisco mayoral debate right here on CBS News Bay Area. That's at 6 p.m. for our viewers. Something that could give voters a great deal of pause is the fact that Mayor London Breed is no longer going to show up. Does this help her or hurt her with voters?
All right, look, so they're taking a test here where they're stepping off the debate stage amidst of some difficulties that have been happening the last couple of weeks. Obviously, the shooting of a 49ers wide receiver, the presence of crime as an issue, all of these things are going to push back against the incumbent Mayor London Breed. Across the bay, an attempted recall of the DA in Alameda County, attempted recall of Oakland's mayor. It's a tough job being a big city mayor. So when London Breed is not showing up, she and her team are basically saying, look, we can sit this one out. We think we'll be okay. But with San Francisco's ranked choice voting system, it's the second and third choices that become hugely important. So if you're on the stage and you're talking about crime, and all four major people that will be on the stage tonight are going to talk about the person not there, London Breed, that will be costly to her in this sense. We're also less than 60 days out, all of that. is going to lead to a pox on breed, if you will. And that will give the candidates who are there a little bit of running room with this ranked choice voting system for voters' second and third choices.
Yeah, and giving them that extra time just to get their policies and opinions out there. David, we always appreciate your opinion and you taking some time out to sort of break it all down for us. It's been an interesting year so far. We'll see you soon.
Thank you very much for having me.